Well, that was a good audible. And what Sandra was just saying is so very true. This environment, this community, Arizona is the place where we are coalescing assets, resources, and opportunities for all of you to succeed. And so it's an exciting time to be in Arizona. And if you're not in Arizona, it's a wonderful time to come to Arizona because there's great opportunity. My name's Steve Lester. I have the privilege of working alongside Kelly Sandin here and Eric Bopp, who's in the back, who came in surprisingly here, as the medical director for this project, which we call Discovery Oasis. And what you see here is a somewhat inspirational or aspirational rendering of the Mayo Clinic's campus in Phoenix. The campus encompasses now about 450 acres of land. And what happened was in about December of 2021, Mayo Clinic acquired an additional 228 acres of land. More or less that hockey stick sort of configuration of land here that comes around the hospital itself. And that land serves in part for generational growth for Mayo Clinic in terms of clinical practice, research, education. But another portion of that land, and I'll show you in a map in a minute because there isn't really a way to show you, is set aside to develop what we're calling a biotechnology innovation hub. This is what we call Discovery Oasis. Discovery Oasis is really about identifying and working with strategic and collaborative and complementary partners with the vision of trying to accelerate our ability to bring innovative products to patients, products that will serve to improve the human condition. Just like Sandra was saying, and with AZ Bio, this is all about collaboration. Discovery Oasis, think of it as the physical embodiment of a bold vision to reimagine the future of healthcare through collaborative partnerships. It is not a real estate development, it is a collaboration development. And our impetus is working with those strategically aligned companies like My Health, which we heard about, and by the way, my shoulder's sore because I've been throwing a lot of balls, and with Tony in the back that just came up and was a great pitch man for Discovery Oasis in and of itself. Because Eric Bopp is here with us, he's the executive director for Discovery Oasis and my administrative partner. He's a lifelong economic developer. And Eric says, you have to always show maps, Steve. I'm a doc, I'm a cardiologist, what do I know from maps? So here's the map, Eric. This is always for you, homage to what the economic developer tells me. And what you see in blue with the Mayo Clinic sign, that's our legacy campus. And when you hear about Mayo Clinic's Bold Forward Unbound in Arizona, where we announced last March, give or take, I guess it was not last March, a year ago March now because it's April, a $1.9 billion or so expansion of our healthcare facility, that is sort of in that blue space, and then moving into that purple, which we call generational growth space. But that's totally separate. That $1.9 billion is independent of what we're doing with Discovery Oasis. I do think it's important to point out the little swath of land in red, that roughly, I don't know, 22 or 23 or 20, how many acres are there? 24 acres, whatever it is, land in the middle of our campus. That land is controlled by Arizona State University. But important to recognize that they have lease and deed restrictions to that land. It is for research and education only. So for-profit companies will not necessarily be coming and competing for space on that land. So in essence, we almost think of them as an anchor tenant within Discovery Oasis itself. And right down here, this little piece of land, if you come up to the Mayo Clinic campus, you'll see steel going up in the ground. That's a joint venture with Mayo Clinic and a group called Brooks Rehabilitation, building an inpatient rehab facility on our campus. So a lot of activity, a lot of excitement. And then that sort of expansive teal colored piece of land that sits between Mayo Boulevard here and the 101 to the north, this street 56 to 64th on the right, that land has been set aside for Discovery Oasis. And with full entitlements and build out, we're looking at a roughly 3.3 million square feet of vertical development. So this is a multi-decade development. And when you're looking out in the future, You can't make small incremental bets. You need to make big, bold bets. And our bet is that the next economic frontier was going to be in healthcare manufacturing. And again, Eric tells me, remember to tell them this, we're not talking about big semis coming in out and spokes and axles on our land. It's really about the manufacturing of cells, of tissues, of organs, of devices, the manufacturing and the refinement of the next energy resource that's going to drive the fourth industrial revolution. And that is data. Mayo Clinic, and we'll go into that at another time, is really becoming that primary refinery and source of the world's largest de-identified federated database through what's called Mayo Clinic platform. What companies will be coming? So you say, well, it's a unique, biotech innovation hub, and you look here from biologics to therapeutics to biomanufacturing, cell and gene therapies, next generation diagnostics devices, and so forth. You go, Steve, what did you do, man? Did you guys, you and Eric and Kelly, just throw something up against the wall? Because that essentially covers every vertical sector of healthcare. And that was purposeful. What we did not want to create in this sort of expansive opportunity is a monoculture. We really believe that the spirit of innovation is ignited when individuals that have unique experiences, unique insights, unique thoughts, they have those purposeful, spontaneous collisions within the ecosystem itself. And we've already begun to see that, where individuals in robotics have connected with people in AI data scientists and then some of our basic scientists, and they sort of, if they never connected, say, well, hey, wait a minute, you need to flip the bottles in this cage, and somebody go, well, we can get a robot to do that, and we can get the AI to manufacture that, and it's inspiring for us when we see that type of collaboration ignited through what we're doing here in Discovery Oasis. This is even an outdated slide, but there's been a lot of excitement or a lot of engagement. So we've met well over 900 companies over the past couple of years. We've had over 215 unique site visits. So if your company comes, you're probably going to come 3 or 4 or 5 times before deciding to move from wherever it is around the world that you're coming. And in fact, we only count that as one. So that's a lot of dinners. So I'm really working on my one pack extensively well here, and I'm doing well, but that's pretty good. And we've had 11 commitments, and we were able to submit plans for our first building. This is important. So it's like, okay, what are we looking for in the companies that are coming to be a part of this ecosystem? And this is perhaps the most important thing to us. And you see on the top left, it says cultural alignment. Culture trumps strategy any day of the year. And it's so critically important to us that we find culturally aligned companies, mission, vision, value alignment. And that's not lip service. That's who we are at Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic has been around for over 160 plus years. And it has been built on the shoulders of pioneers and innovators. But what keeps Mayo Clinic true to a big 86,000 person company in multiple different locations within the United States. And no matter how fast we grow, what is unique through the leadership is the ability to maintain cultural alignment within that ecosystem, particularly at the beginning when we start early. If we have to take clowns like Tony or not, we don't know, I'm just kidding. What we want to make sure is that if you have a bad apple in that early environment, it's like any team, they can sort of become that noxious, fractious culture. And we really want to find those strategically aligned companies, those culturally aligned companies that obviously meet some of these other components of what we're trying to do in Discovery Oasis. And that's very important to us because we're going to be here for many generations to come. And we want this to be a really vibrant, energizing, positive environment. How do you collaborate with Mayo Clinic? So many different ways. Obviously, Discovery Oasis, and we heard from iHealth. They're one of our portfolio companies now. We've heard from Tony is another portfolio company. We have a number of companies already coming in before this first building is even coming out of the ground. I founded and continue to have the privilege of running our healthcare accelerator program, this Mayo Clinic platform, which is the data component. There's the innovation exchange, really think of the exchange to me as early matchmaking from a little bit earlier stage companies that may not even necessarily get to the accelerator level yet. We have core facilities, DLMP, research, and business development, which we could talk a lot about. But business development, I will tell you that we work very much trying to align with companies like yourselves, and either from an inside out or outside in type of collaboration, whether we push innovation out of our organization from ideation through to commercialization, or we work with companies like MyHealth, where we bring in these ideologically linked companies, and then we use our know-how to pull that out of the organization itself. And business development has been able to return over $1 billion to the Mayo Clinic bottom line. So it's not a small venture, it's a big venture, and we want to work with companies like yourselves. That is important to us. Whether these are early stage companies or emerging technologies, these are the types of opportunities that allow us to continuously embed the cutting edge innovations into our clinical practices. We want to ensure that we can provide the most advanced, most precise, most individualized care for every patient every day. And we do that through this type of collaboration. And we're inspired to do that through this type of collaboration. So I leave you with the notion of this. What are we really doing at Discovery Oasis? Driving home one day, and I'm driving up and down this highway, and I think, what is this all about? And I realized that what we're really creating is the genesis of an immortal benefactor. It's not a benefactor necessarily to Mayo Clinic, to our ecosystem partners, to the city or the state. This is a benefactor to all of us in society, because we have one mission and goal, and that's to accelerate being able to bring these innovative products to patients, products that will serve to improve the human condition. And we welcome all of you to join us in this unique environment. We are engineering proximity. We want to triangulate your connections with our connections and other company connections where we can create magic through this proximity. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect and spend time with you this morning or this afternoon. Thank you, Joan, as well.